Good morning to you, Senator. So President Trump wants the Senate to move fast. That's not what the Senate does, but he wants them to on the House passed $95 billion reconciliation package before the recess. Now, Leader Thune and several of your colleagues call it risky this close to the midterms. What do you think about the prospects of that right now?
Well, the reconciliation came from the House. We're also working on a supplemental here in the Senate. Two very different things, very different processes. Supplemental is bipartisan. There's a lot in there for our defense. The goal is to get that across the line. So that's what our main focus is right now. I think we're trying to achieve the same objective, and that is robust funding for our defense. I think when I see the bipartisan NDAA, or the National Defense Authorization Act, we passed that out bipartisan out of the committee.
Yeah.
But once it got exposed to daylight, I mean, the Democrats completely went silent on that. There was no support for it. So I've never seen partisan politics like I have now. So it's a tough road. I don't know if we're going to have to use reconciliation, but it probably needs to be a little stronger than what the House sent over to us. One of the things I've asked for in this supplemental coming from the Senate is support for those in Western North Carolina. It's been almost 2 years since Hurricane Helene. So while there's support for farmer, major support for defense, we also need some support for Western North Carolina.
I do want to turn to the Russia sanctions legislation and a tribute to your late colleague, Lindsey Graham. The House won't be able to consider it until members return in September, which has been expanded now to also include sanctions on Iran. What is the outlook right now on that?
Well, the sanctions bill, it's gotten overwhelming support. Mm-hmm. And let's remember that sanctions have worked so far when it comes to Russia, which is where his legislation started. I was in those early conversations with the late, great Lindsey Graham as he was forming this up. And it was Russia focused, and now we've added Iran to it. But it doesn't go after those countries specifically. It's the countries that are buying illicit energy from them that are keeping that economy, those two economies afloat. If we tariff them, and those are very narrowly written tariffs that would go after the countries that are propping up these regimes. I think if you do that, it begins to pinch them off economically, and we bring an end to these conflicts very, very soon. That's the hope, is that you go after them economically, because it's a very pivotal moment for both of those countries economically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Senator, sticking with the war with Iran, President Trump, of course, staying true to his promise, U.S. Central Command announcing new strikes on the Islamic Republic in response to that attempted surprise attack on Tuesday. Meantime, there's a new AP poll out saying 2/3 of Democrats and independents don't think the war is worth fighting. 1/3 of Republicans do. You sit on the Armed Services Committee. What do we need to do to either end this thing quickly or to get the American people more on board with it?
Let's pass the NDAA and let's get this supplemental across the line that gives our warfighters exactly what they need. Mm-hmm. You need to give the president every option as he goes into these negotiations. When you start throwing out these War Powers Act, they're not really about war powers. They're about choking down the legislative agenda that we were elected in 2024 forward to do. So it's really about obstacles from the Democrats and not so much these war powers that they're actually talking about. Let's give the warfighters what they need. And what I'm seeing the president do is he's actually expanded the collaboration in the Gulf region. You've seen Saudi Arabia come aboard. Initially, they've been very reticent to do so. You've seen UAE be a great partner in there. A lot of our folks in the region are giving us access basing and overflight, which is tremendously important. So we're starting to build out the coalition, which is what we need, because they haven't just been coming after us, or Iran hasn't. You've seen them actually go after our partners and our friends and allies in the region. It's been horrible what they've done to Jordan, the UAE, and other countries in the region. And now they're saying, look, they need to get involved in this fight, and let's bring it to an end.
Senator Ted Budd, thank you so much for taking the time this morning. Appreciate it.